All right, folks, today we're going to talk about the bare necessities for... Hello? Oh shit, it's Disney. Hello, fellow endos. My name is Rob, and welcome to another video in the tutorial series. Today we are talking about power systems. So what are the basics that you need to get your ship running in terms of power? Yesterday we talked about engines and framing, and if you want to take a look at that video, we'll go ahead and link it right there at the top. And you don't have to watch these in any specific order. But today we're going to be talking about just the power systems. So what is considered part of the power system? Well, we have the battery, we have the generators, we have our fuel tanks, and we have our radiator / cooling system. Optionally, we also have solar power, but that is an advanced topic, and we'll just leave that for a future video since it's not really a basic component and it takes some advanced components to make, I believe, yes, ymmerium and agesium. So we'll skip on that for the time being. So in each of these categories, we're going to talk about parts, assembly, and how to hook them up. So let's go ahead and talk with the simplest of these, and that is the batteries. So the battery bank holds about 10,000 units. Well, not about. It holds 10,000 units of electricity that can be recharged by your generators. Everything on your ship uses an amount of electricity. So like if we look at our engines, we know that they use, let's see, they use 99 units per second. So we need at least 99 units. With one engine, we would need at least 99 units being recharged into the battery at all times to keep our battery from draining completely. Obviously, the more batteries you put down, the more energy you have to work with. So if we put 2 batteries down, we have 20,000 units of electricity. If we put 3 down, we have 30,000 units of electricity, etc., etc. Each of these has one hookup port on it, and that is for a power connection / cable, as we call them. And that just has to be connected to your cable network. So we're just going to go ahead and connect it right there. This right here is called a duct. You've probably seen them on some of the ships. These are just ways to pass cables throughout the ship without having to actually run the cables. And it does handle both pipe and cable at the same time. I think pipe and cable is so like confusing. So it handles the blue cables and the yellow cables, which are cable / they're both cables. God damn it. Cable is a cable. Pipe, cable, whatever. Okay. Let's just say pipe, cable, pipe, cable, pipe, cable. So the blue one is the cable, the yellow one is the pipe. But I get confused and I call them both cables of different colors. So we just need the blue cable, which is our power and data. And that needs to be connected to the rest of your cable system on your ship. So you can actually run physical cables everywhere, or you can connect it to a duct that then passes cables and pipes throughout the ship. And, wherever you connect to it, you're basically connecting to your central bus, basically, if that makes sense. So like if I was trying to send these to my engines here, I would just have to connect to, since these are touching each other, I would just need to connect from here to here with my cabling. Same thing on this side. I would just connect down here and then to the piping there. And then that attaches to here. So now the battery is connected to the engines, etc., etc. Our batteries also have these little nifty plates on the side. We'll call them connection points, where they can talk to other batteries on the same thing without having to run any more cables. So if we went ahead and duplicated this battery here and just dragged it over, these are now both connected. Those are connected. Like anything that touches that is connected. So like yesterday we talked about how all of these are connected because they have connection plates. Well, this functions the same way. So if I did this, these would all be connected, etc. So as long as they're touching each other or touching these points together, they are connected. Now you might want to have a little bit more redundancy than that, because if this one blew up, none of these other ones are actually connected at that point to the cable, and we would be kind of screwed. So you might want to do some redundancy here, maybe run these down here, maybe run an entirely different cable somewhere in another direction, so you're getting data from maybe this side as well. It's up to you how you want to set that up, but that would be a battery pack right here, and we could duplicate that as many times as we wanted to. It's just more resources, so you can have as many batteries as you want. It doesn't really affect anything. More is better. It's just going to cost more components to build, right? So moving on, let's talk about generators. So our generator has two main parts and a couple auxiliary parts, and we will talk about those. This right here is our fuel generator fuel chamber, and these are both tier 2s. That's why they're red instead of blue. And they take fuel rods, same as the tier 1s, but they take the tier 2 fuel rods. So we'll go ahead and stick this in here, and by now hopefully you're familiar with fuel rods. If not, we do have a tips and tricks video where we talk about how to change your fuel rods out and what they're used for. Basically, your fuel rods burn down as your generator runs as a kind of power source, although they are also taking cabling and piping. So this is the bare necessities. Right here would be one of these generator fuel chamber tier 2s and one of the generator unit tier 2s. I mean, you can do both tier 1s. Just make sure you match your tiers up, right? Right here, we're using 2 of these. We could go again and do 4 of them if we wanted to. They just have to be touching on these connection points. So you see it right here, this bit right here is a connection point, just like that is a connection point on the battery. And as long as they are touching and bolted together, they are good to go. Keep in mind that the more units you put together, the more you're going to consume your fuel rod and the more heat you're going to generate, which is why optimally we would go ahead and duplicate our fuel rods before we start adding more of these generator units. So if we went ahead and put another fuel rod there, then we could go ahead and duplicate that, and now we have a kind of basic generator layout with 2 fuel rods and 4 of the units. So that is your basic layout for your generators, and obviously you can put them however you wanted to. You could do like an L thing. You can lay these down and connect the generators on top right here. As long as the connection points are touching, you're good for however you want to set these up. You could do a U, you could do an L, you could make a thing that looks like a car engine. You know, the ways you can hook it up are limitless. Well, okay, they're a bit limited, but they're kind of limitless. So once you have that going, there's another 2 things that you need, and that is the generator pipe socket board and the generator socket board. So one of them says pipe and the other one just says socket board. I feel like this one should say generator cable socket board, and this one should say generator pipe socket board. And it's also confusing because this one is blue but it has yellow. And this one is red, but it has orange. And but your pipes go into this one, and your electricity or cabling goes into this. You can read that on the tooltip. It says, you know, transforms local power into electricity, connects cables, and distributes electricity to cable network. So if you get confused, you can just read the tooltips. But what do we do with these? Well, these have the same connection points on the back here. And you can kind of figure out that you need to stick them onto one of the connection points on the generator. And you can just set them like right next to each other. I could put this one over here if I wanted to. I could put this one over here if I wanted to. It doesn't matter where they are as long as everything is touching. So if these two were separate, I would need an additional 2 of these on here. So if I took these and moved this whole thing like over here, then I would need another 2 socket boards on this thing right here. Comprende? Good. But if they're all touching, we're good to go. So then we would just connect the cabling like we did with everything else. So this one right here is our pipe, and we would just get our cabling tool, select pipe, and we'll go ahead and drop this out to our thingy there. And same thing with the cabling. I wish these were a bit more rigid, but we could come down here and connect. And now everything is connected to our central line there. Now, in addition to that, we have something called a cooling cell, which is another part of the well, it's kind of an optional part. You don't need to put one on. You can just add more radiators if you wanted to. But if you wanted to be more efficient, you have your generator cooling rack, which again has that connection point on the back. And we would just snap that onto the generator anywhere. And we would stick these, we would stick these packs in here. Come on. Do my bidding. All right. Get in there. There we go. And it takes 3 of them. As the generator runs, this coolant goes into the red here and kind of pulls that out. So it acts like a additional coolant system. However, over time, these do deteriorate, and you would need to replace them or check, so make sure they're in a place where you can check on them so you can get in there and replace them if you need to. You can also recharge them, and we have this thing right here called the coolant recharge rack. And this has a hardpoint, device hardpoint connection on the back. So we would need to set up a device hardpoint somewhere on the wall, maybe like right here. Meh. Like, let's say we stick that there. Doesn't matter. And then we could take the coolant recharge rack and attach it to the hardpoint. And now that's all connected. And then as these died, we could maybe have multiples of those, and we can just put them into the, if it wants to go, which it doesn't. Come on. Oh my God. Stop it. Stop it. You're snapping the wrong way. Okay, apparently this video is going to be how to not turn things in the right direction. There we go. So you would put it in the rack, it would recharge it once the bar is all the way up. You can pull it out and put it back into your unit there. So you could have 2 of these in the charging rack, or you could have multiple charging racks with these just in there charging, and then as these fail, you switch them out. And that is how that works. Now, you don't have to have these, or you can have multiples of these. We could do another one up here if we wanted to. The more you have, the more cooling you have, and the more power you can use. But optimally, you would want to have multiple radiators as your main source of cooling, although I have to wonder about the efficacy of radiators in space, because there is no medium with which to transfer the heat into space, from what I understand about space, which may be nothing. So we have two parts of the radiator here. We have the radiator base and we have the radiator extension. Now you can put multiple extensions on a base, so we could go ahead and duplicate this and flip it over. Nope, not that way. And then we could copy those, duplicate those, stick them there, and then we have a general radiator setup, and we could do multiples of these side by side, and these just connect to a hard point, so we would just snap them to the hard point and then bolt everything down and make sure it's all connected. These also need data and pipe. So cable and pipe would have to be connected, and you would just connect that to your grid and make sure everything's running together. So we would take this and do our usual cabling over here, down there, come down here maybe, come over here. Yeah, come on, down here. There, now that's connected, right? Same thing with the pipe. We'll just run the pipe down and wherever. Obviously, that's not where I'm going to leave that. So we can just undo all that. That's not where the radiators are going. I'm going to put them on the bottom of the ship. But for experimentation or showing purposes, that is how the radiators are set up. You can do a couple different patterns. We could put like two of these next to each other. As long as you have the hard points, you can do whatever you want. You could take, this and duplicate it here, and take another one and connect it there, and make like a 4 radiator block here. They don't really snap that direction, or you can take another one, do that, and then put the extensions on. And that's just as valid. So it's up to you how you want to set up your radiators. Obviously, the more radiators you have, the better. You can make a whole ship out of radiators. All right, which brings us to the last part of our power system, and that is our fuel, which you might say is not really part of the power system, but it's part of power generation because all your thrusters and everything else use it. So if you don't have it, you can't go nowhere. So the fuel is made, the propulsion system or tank is made up of two parts, and that is the propellant tank and your propellant tank support. And it uses 2 propellant tank supports, one on either side, and they just snap on as so. And we would just do the same thing with the other one, snap it on as so, and then bolt that all together, which we can go ahead and do. Boop. Right. And then we can take that and attach it to a bulkhead or something. Now, the more points that this has connected on these arms, or whatever you want to call them, the better. So I have found that setting up like a lattice or something that you can connect these to, hey, there's a cat in my room, is the way to go with that. And we could also make this a module like we talked about in the last video, so we don't lose parts every time we move it. And so maybe you would set up a kind of lattice work with the beams here and just put a bunch of them side by side. These do not have connection points, so they all have to have their individual piping and data run. So you see you have 2 slots on here, one for piping, one for data, and it doesn't matter which one goes to which. You can even jump them all together if you like not having redundancy. So we could, just do this down the line, and they're connected like that, and then we could come out of this one and into our network, so to speak. Same thing with the pipe. You can just connect them all as such. and that just makes a bunch of fuel tanks connected together. Now, personally, I like to have a long pipe and then a one coming out of the main pipe into each of these, and maybe have it kind of coming from both directions, or a big circle, so that we have a good redundancy loop, so to speak. And that's that. So those are your power systems. They all have settings and things as such, which we can get into when we talk about setting up our bridge console, and how to set up the readouts, and how to set up some YOLO code to regulate our power management. But for now, we're just talking about the basics of the basics. So that is your power system in a nutshell. Obviously, everything would just scale up from that. You always want to think about your placement of certain things, because if you lose your fuel cells, you're dead in the water. So you don't want to put those in a place that they might easily get destroyed if you hit something like an asteroid or somebody shoots you. Same thing with your fuel cells. If these take a direct hit, they explode like a small sun and take out half of your ship, and probably you as well. So you kind of want to be careful where you put these, but you also want to have access so you can remove them and change them freely. So again, up to you how you lay out all of your power battery propulsion systems. So that's it for me today. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really does help all content creators on this platform in terms of how the YouTube algorithm recommends videos and such. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and if you want to be notified every time I drop a video, go ahead and hit that little bell icon, and YouTube will do its best to tell you every time there's a new video. Until next time, I'll see you out there in space. Well, out here in space. Stay safe, my friends.